Hi everyone, welcome back to Spring into Math 7. I'm Mrs. Campbell. Today we're going to be talking about dividing rational numbers. Let's jump right in. So when we're dividing rational numbers, it's important that we talk about the inverse property of multiplication. And that tells us for every non-zero number, there is a multiplicative inverse, or it can be flipped over. Let me show you what I mean by this. 1 times 1 over a equals 1. Now that may not make a whole lot of sense to you yet, but let's break it down even a little bit further. Basically, it means that the multiplicative inverse of a, assuming a is a real number, or a over 1 is going to be 1 over a. Let's substitute a for an actual number, and maybe it'll make a little bit more sense, be a little more clear. So when I say, let's pretend that that a actually represents the number 7. Okay, 7 as a whole number, if I wanted to represent that in fraction form, how would I do that? 7 would be shown as 7 over 1. Okay, so the multiplicative inverse is that number, 7 over 1, flipped, or 1 over 7. And that's essentially all the inverse property of multiplication is telling us. We call a number's multiplicative inverse the reciprocal, and that's typically how you'll hear it referred to. A fraction's inverse is called its reciprocal. Let's take a look at some examples of fractions reciprocals. The reciprocal of 1/8 is 8 over 1. The reciprocal of 2/5 is 5 over 2. Now, understanding a number's reciprocal is going to be really, really essential when we're dividing rational numbers. And let's take a look at why. To divide rational numbers like fractions, you simply multiply the reciprocal of the fraction to the right. So if you know how to multiply fractions, you know how to divide fractions. You just have to remember to switch that second fraction, the fraction to the left, flip it over. Multiply by its reciprocal. Let's take a look at some examples. So my question here is 7/3 divided by 2/3. Okay, so to solve that problem, all I have to do is flip the second fraction or use its reciprocal and multiply. So I switch my division sign to a multiplication sign. I find the reciprocal of 2/3, which is 3 over 2. Then I multiply 7 over 3, which is actually going to be 21, and 2 times 3, which is actually going to be 6. And then I simplify by dividing both those numbers by 3, and I get 7 over 2. If you wanted to turn that into a mixed number, that would be great too. But essentially, that is how we divide rational numbers. You simply take the reciprocal of the second fraction and multiply. So let's give it a try. Our question says simplify 2/3 divided by 7 over 8. So the first thing we have to do is just switch our second fraction, find the reciprocal of 7 over 8, which is going to be 8 over 7. Then we multiply 2 times 8 and 3 times 7 in our denominator position and solve. 2 times 8 is 16 and 3 times 7 is 21. And that's as easy as can possibly be. All right, guys, that just about wraps it up for dividing rational numbers. We'll see you next time.